A very good morning. We're glad you are still with us on Morning at NTV, and we are now entering the discussion segment of the program. And postscript is what we are on right now. Crime reporting beyond the scene of crime and the ethics and all dynamics involved. We shall be joined very shortly by one of the indefatigable crime reporters in the nation, part of one of the formidable newsrooms across the region here at NTV. But let me just give you a preamble of exactly what we need to talk about. In the aftermath of a crime, one like that happened on Tuesday, the gruesome slaying of the State Minister for Labor, retired Colonel Charles Okello Engola. The media found itself in a spot of bother. People were saying we, as reporters and broadcasters, played along the speculation and were unable to provide the facts as promptly as we ought to have provided them. But we are simply doing a job. When an incident happens, there's a lot of fact-checking, there's a lot of background information that we have to get in order to be able to present it. Now, for those that witness an event, an incident, and an attack like the one on Tuesday, the tendency to say as is, well, what they can do because they are eyewitnesses. Many accounts can differ from the original depending on who is telling the story as an eyewitness. It's the role of the media to come out with a correlated version of events that speaks to how the original one could have been. Now, that is something that has now happened after more than 36 hours after that particular incident. We pretty much know what happened. But the devil, like they say, is always in the details. Ali Mivule is a reporter at Nation Media Group and NTV in particular, and he's going to be giving us an idea of what goes on when it comes to crime reporting. We shall also, of course, get to know he was one of the reporters who were first on the scene just minutes after that incident happened. A very warm welcome to the program, Ali Mivule.
Hey, thank you very much.
How is your morning?
Morning is quite fine.
Quite fine.
Yeah, just gearing up for Juma prayers.
Juma prayers. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Priscilla, there you are completely
Praise
off.
God.
Amen.
All right, today,
yes,
in unfamiliar fashion, I hope today we gambo to be tutta. Because you present the program, ebigambo tebita. Today, beings okushutta. All right. First and foremost, before we get to the nitty-gritty of the dynamics of crime reporting, first tell us the very first minutes you arrived on the scene after the murder, gruesome indeed, of the State Minister on Tuesday.
Okay, even before I take you to the crime scene, let me start from the newsroom, how actually this unfolded. You know, we were having a meeting here in the newsroom, and all of a sudden, I saw some missed calls from Honorable, the former MP for Kawempe, that's Latif Sebagala. So he called like twice. I was like, this guy, I'm in a meeting, and he's calling, okay, I'll get back to him. But when he called the third time, instincts just struck me, and I was like, maybe there is something happening somewhere, maybe yes, something. So I was like, okay, I excused myself. Actually, I was the one chairing the meeting, so yeah, I just excused myself. I handed over the meeting to my colleague. I told her, you know what, help me out. I went to the pantry, received the call, and the first thing he told me, Mivule, somewhere ngola bamusi. You know, there was some kind of misinformation for many of the first hours there. Actually, many people thought it was Sam Engola that was that was shot. So he told me Sam Engola Mamusi Nemungamba, hey. So I went to the assignments editor there, Mr. Kato. I told him, you know what? I whispered in his ear because the meeting was still ongoing. You know, there is this is this and this. Sam Engola. I also reported Sam Engola has been killed. So, you know, sometimes the way you treat breaking news, it brings to a halt of everything that you're doing. So
I remember everything got disorganized in the meeting. It ended prematurely.
So we had to end the meeting there for me, and I had to rush. And of course, sometimes there is no time for you to take a car. You know, those are some of the risks that we actually take in the name of breaking news, because it doesn't happen.
So you got on a bike?
Yeah, I just got on a bike, and you know, some guys are also shrewd. Those the bike guys. Some of them are unscrupulous. The moment they realize that you're also in a rush.
Oh.
so the guy realized that maybe I'm after something and I really needed it. The guy, I told him I'm rushing to Chanja. The guy told me 20K.
Oh my God.
I had no choice.
Yeah.
Jumped on the bike. We went to Chanja. That's the road is called Ring Road. Yeah. By the time we reached, police actually hadn't reached. There are just a few policemen there trying to stop the public from accessing the crime scene. But of course, after the shots, people are already on the road. You know, there is that curiosity, what really happened.
Yeah, and they gather really quickly.
Yeah, really quickly.
Because it's a center, sort of like a trading center nearby, and people have to get onto with the day's business. They have to make a shilling to put food on the table. So not really understanding what transpired inside there, they thought, okay, just one of those things, and then we move on to business as usual.
There is something of a bit of a challenge. You said when the Honorable Latif Sebagala called you, he said Sam Engola. Latif Sebagala lives nearby, and he knows the minister's identity, and that is a challenge. When an authority or a source says or gives you a lead or a tip, how quickly do you go about the verification?
Actually, before he reached the crime scene, he rectified it.
Okay.
Yeah, he said that, Charles.
Sure.
You know, sometimes when you're in shock, you know, those names are quite familiar. Charles, Sam Engola and Charles.
They are siblings?
Yeah. Charles is Sam is a relative,
a cousin, so to speak,
to the late.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's talk about that in light of the fact that the next day was World Press Freedom Day. We as press have been under the hot spot in regards to how we dispense our work, and while on duty, the challenges that we faced. In regards to you having gone on ground at the time you went in, with what you went in, what were the challenges that you found in actually bringing to life what was taking place?
Okay. Before I go to that particular incident, you know, when you talk about challenges in journalism, I'm a living testimony. Right now, I'm still living with a very big scar here, around here. I remember the 2021 campaigns, so that by the violence that was actually there. But anyway, life goes on. But coming back to that particular one, you know, as a journalist, you would want to get that first-hand information, and it's within us that you wouldn't want to be from afar, someone to tell you what's happening, so long as you're at the scene.
That's right.
But again, also, this is a crime scene. The investigative team have to do their work. You also have to do your work. So you can't avoid that friction, and we always have that, and it was the case again. You know, when I reached there with my colleague here, Arafat, because there were a few police officers. The first guy that was manning the road that leads to the residence of the late, he actually told us, you guys, you're not supposed to go beyond this point. But they had not even cordoned off the place by then. And I was like, boss, the residence is something, some distance away from the main road. So you want me to stay here and just zoom? Yet I want to actually know what's going on. So I had to find a way, we had to find a way to maneuver, at least get closer, whereas we didn't get into the residence, but get closer, because that's when you can actually have a good shot. So that was one of the challenge, because, you know, the restrictions sometimes curtail what you're doing. The other one was all about the misinformation. You know, when you're covering such things, you have to be keen of what people tell you.
Yeah.
Because you talked to different people to give you an account. Yeah.
And for us here at NMG, at least you must talk to like 3 people and collaborate what they say. Otherwise, if you just get someone tells you, oh, he has been shot maybe because of this and such a thing. You know, there are very many theories around, flying around. Oh, he has been shot because of this. He has been shot simply because of this. So if you're a journalist that doesn't have that fact check, for you, you'll just go and then
go with this.
And then, you know, sometimes people, the other challenge was that we were among the first people to reach that crime scene. People wanted to know what was going on. the pressure from the newsroom that you get, please update us, and you're supposed to give a live link. But remember, I've just reached a few minutes ago.
Right.
I need to
Yeah.
You need to do your basically background check, research, and talk to people before you can come up with something.
So you remember, some people were still insisting it was Sam Engola.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know the resident, so I don't know who was shot at first. Much as the honorable had told me that it was Charles, but again,
still needed verification.
Yes, I need some verification from the people around.
Okay.
In light of that, the challenges still. This was a live crime scene. You got there just a few minutes after it had happened, meaning anything could have happened thereafter. You know, perhaps there was another officer who could have had a gun and went on a rampart shootout. You didn't have a bulletproof vest. You didn't have a helmet. You were as you were. Ali Mivule.
Was he? Oh.
You see, as I told you earlier, sometimes breaking news, sometimes you don't have
time to
that luxury of going to the store and getting the bulletproof vest and getting the
helmet.
But do these things exist for you to be able to do this one?
Here at NTV, yes. So, you know, it's been like a practice here sometimes. If you go, then the driver will
as a follow-up team.
Those things to you.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes you don't have the time. Trust me, as I've told you, breaking news, there is a way.
There's an urgency.
That urgency that you're supposed to accord it. And because in the industry, he who informs first will actually get the credit.
The credibility, of course. And there is that cloud chasing.
Exactly. So
and many times we get into trouble for that. Yeah. But just returning to the gist of crime reporting, collaboration between journalists and the police and security forces for the need to be able to bring out information on the scene as fast as possible. Is there a working mechanism when you arrive at a scene and a police officer quickly identifies that you are a journalist and you can readily provide the IDs? Isn't there, or I should be asking, is there with the Uganda Police Force a way of collaboration? For example, arriving there and then the police note says, this is Mivule from NTV. Oh, you don't have to really know that it's Mivule, but as long as you have the tag NTV, does the police provide you what they know within the first few minutes of them arriving, and now that you're a journalist, or it's a case of, again,
you collect your own information as they collect their own information?
The police to provide you with information at that very moment, it's next to impossible.
Oh my
God.
Sometimes
also, most of the guys that are there are junior. And
the first responders,
yes, they're juniors
officers,
there, and they don't have the mandate to speak on behalf of the police force. You understand? So they can't tell you that actually these are the facts and this and this and that. Okay, maybe informally they can tell you, oh, hey, guy has been shot. You can ask, is the body still there? Yes, but they won't divulge into as much information as possible.
Concrete.
Yes, they can't.
Okay.
But so you just have to find your own way to gather that information from the witnesses.
All right.
Yes.
So something else. We have a new generation of journalism that is coming up. Social media journalism, phone journalism versus traditional journalism. I mean, by the time you got to the scene, there had been a video that was already circulating on social media about what was happening in the area, and then the phone journalism element to this. What is your perspective on social media journalism versus traditional journalism in light of crime reporting?
Okay, maybe let me start with the key challenge here. That again is misinformation, because even some of the bloggers there actually reported that it was Sam Engola that was being shot, that had been shot. That's the major challenge. But again, you know, there is this thinking that you know, traditional media is dying away, whatever. But trust me, it also comes down to the kind of reporter that you have on the ground, and it comes down to the packaging that you'll be giving the people. Much as people had said what they had already said, what they had witnessed and the likes, people were anxiously waiting for a bulletin at 7 to find a detailed report of what actually went down there. Okay, so, but I think sometimes bloggers and other people that use their phones to get the information, they act so fast, and sometimes it's actually, there are some factual errors which needs to be corrected.
We don't know how you can rein in on bloggers, but...
So while it's a challenge, we can't negate the fact that it's the future.
Yes,
it's the new era that we are in. And so how then do you advise the to-be married to actually then give out a good fourth estate perspective to what's happening?
You know, social media is not something that is only to be done by unprofessional people.
Right.
A professional journalist can also do the same. Can also do the same. So there is the difference. There is a difference between me blogging and also sharing on social media and some other person that comes the way, you know, that is called citizen journalism. So and then another citizen journalist comes in and then they start sharing information. I will be keen to get the facts right, simply because much as I'm Ali Mivule, even if I'm doing it in my individual capacity, there is a thin line between Ali Mivule and NTV. So if, in any case, if you have any factual error, much as it was me, again, it will be NTV taking the blame. You get? So for me, I think as journalists, we can actually also engage in social media updates and the likes, but in a responsible way. In a responsible way. Away from, because someone from Chiseka can go and then take pictures, they will get away with it. Yeah.
The other thing for me that has come out is the fact that while you do have the phone journalism and the social media journalism, they can't be implicated as much as the traditional journalism when it comes to, you know, checks and balances. Yes. Your implications are they have statutes, terms and conditions do apply. Yeah. But nevertheless, let's talk about the aftermath of it, building the angles and stories to what has happened thereafter. I mean, you and I were here on that fateful day, and you were giving us the live coverage, and then I had to pick up on all these other elements of the let. How do you construct information that is valuable and consumable for the audience to see the bigger picture of this story?
You're talking about day 2?
Yes.
Well, day 2 is one of some of the laziest days that you can get from a crime scene. So it takes a journalist to actually come up with a story. You know, there are very many questions. In the first day, you can't cover each and everything. You know, many questions still linger around, and how did this happen? So here, basically, in the first day, we are looking at the what, because people wanted to know what had happened. So, day 2, the follow-up, that's when you get the how. Because you can have the how maybe a little bit in the first one, in the initial stages. Yeah. But a detailed how, you can just get the detailed how maybe on day 2. So so how did he move from this place to here? Why didn't the other bodyguards respond? What are the people saying? His background. That's what you're supposed to be having in day 2. You think beyond what happened in. For instance, I had to go to the salon of this lady. She's called Percy. The lady where the private Sabiti shot himself dead. Someone would just go and then take shots that, oh, the place is still closed. I had to dig deep inside there. I had to talk to her. She actually told me that she's closing. So someone will just go take the pictures and it's enough. No. You have to get that information. What people, so what next? You know, as a journalist, by default, some questions just come, and you know.
Okay. All right. We have to wrap this up, but allow me ask you the very final question. Yes. The traumas and the emotions of crime reporting. Many times, I remember in 2010, I was still a radio reporter, and when the bombings happened at Chadondo, we sped towards that place, and on reaching, the sight of blood almost overwhelmed me. When you're reporting on crime scenes and the the scene is more gruesome than it was on Tuesday. How do you cope in the hours after or the days? Have you developed a thick skin to the extent that you're unaffected?
Okay, you know, when you're covering such, just do away with your emotions, please.
Yeah,
Because that's a job.
leave them home.
Yeah, like for instance, the guy who the mortuary attendant, that's his job. So as a journalist, that's my job. Even if it means jumping over a dead body, that's my job. So things like blood, whatever, now we are beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe for the people, for the new guys that are starting up in journalism, but sometimes if I'm doing my job, whatever it takes, I must get a story.
You must get the story.
And I must inform the public. So even if it means jumping a dead body, even if it means sometimes you
moving it to the side,
sometimes
so that you can pass.
get a little bit emotional. The emotions come, but you like, hey, guy, this is a job.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for the perspective, Ali Mivule, of course, on crime reporting. Ebigambo tebituse.
Bituse ebigambo.
Nedda.
Enchalo nakulwancha ebigambo tebita.
Nebituse. Interesting.
Okay.
All right, that will do it for the postscript. We hope you are emboldened by the information that has been shared, and of course the perspective by our very own Ali Mivule, a crime reporter at NTV and Nation Media Group. That will do it for the postscript. Do stay with us. Other conversations are coming up. Just to give you an idea, Mr. Panda is turning up, and of course he has a lot. He's an artist and also a presenter at NTV. So we shall be having him here. I hope he can give us a little bit of vibes, and we also give him some perspective on taking some current affairs to his show. We are back.